Humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagavan. Loving Sairams and greetings from Prashanti Nilayam. I am sorry I had to skip my talk last week. Those of you who followed the events here via web streaming would of course understand why. The week that was represented a landmark in many ways. One of them was the release of the book on which this series is based. We are presenting separately a video on the book release that would include the release function, and apart from that, some shots of the book itself, and of course, a playout of the DVD that comes along with the book. I am aware that many of you are disappointed that this book is not for sale, and some of you are even angry. I apologize for that, but perhaps I could offer some comments on that, besides giving an assurance that soon some kind of arrangement should be made to make this book available on a wider scale and possibly in languages other than English. By way of explaining all this in greater detail, let me begin with why the idea for such a book arose in the first place. As some of you might remember, some years ago, a substantial modification was done to Trayi Brindavan. What was done was, an annex was added to it, which provided, among other things, a spacious dining room for Swami. The old dining room was very cramped. Also, in order to go to the dining room and to come out of the dining room, Swami had to climb up and down a small flight of stairs, because the dining room was at a different level compared to Swami's room. The new dining room that replaced the earlier one made sure that everything was at the same level. In this context, I should remind you that in 2003, Swami had a major hip surgery, and after that walking became somewhat difficult. If walking was difficult, going up and down stairs is of course much more difficult. That is why this modification that I mentioned, or this addition of a complex to the circular building of Trayi, became inevitable. At the same time, a spacious parlor of sorts was added in front of the dining hall, and in that place was kept a bookshelf with many books and magazines. As a result, every evening after bhajan, when Swami went for dinner, he would spend a few minutes in the parlor. Sometimes he would see newspapers, some of us would be around. At other times, someone would bring one of those books from the shelf for him to browse through. Those books were all classy coffee table books, and among them were an illustrated Ramayana and a very beautiful picture book on Mahatma Gandhi. I was not at all satisfied with the Ramayana there. It was very well printed, the paper was good, it was a coffee table, no doubt, but the artwork was not okay, at least to me it seemed that way, and the contents were also not exactly what I would have liked. And that is what made me do a Ramayana book, which by Swami's grace was blessed by Bhagavan himself just before the 85th birthday. This is the Ramayana book. I hope you can see it. The title is Journey into Valmiki's Ramayana. It is actually in two parts. Now, part one, this is part one. It is a presentation of Valmiki's Ramayana, condensed version of course, in English, with a lot of very specially commissioned illustrations. Here is a very spectacular one that shows Hanuman in flight across the ocean. The second part of this two-volume set also has the same title, Journey into Valmiki's Ramayana, but the subtitle is Why We Still Need the Ramayana. In other words, I have tried to draw attention to the relevance of Ramayana to this day and age by distilling the essence of Ramayana, comparing them with Swami's teachings and what Swami did by way of exemplifying his teachings. Those of you who are regular followers of Radio Sai would know that I gave a serialized presentation of Valmiki's Ramayana over Radio Sai 2 years ago. In fact, I made sure that the last talk was on Vijayadashami Day, which in North India is celebrated as the day when Rama returns to Ayodhya. So much for the Ramayana book. Let me now make a reference to the book on Gandhi, which was one of those that was kept in Swami's little library, if I may call it that. Here is that book. It's a remarkable picture book. The pictures having been collected by one man who spent almost a quarter of a century doing that. The book is divided into various segments of Gandhi's life. There is a short description for each segment and then follow the books. It goes right to the end. It takes us through the assassination and the final immersion of the ashes at the confluence of Ganga and Jamuna at Prayag. This book was published by a company called Phaidon in Pennsylvania. It's all in black and white, but it is still a high quality book and a coffee table book. I decided as far back as 2009 that I would try and do a picture book on Swami, almost like the Phaidon book. That is to say, I would try to create a replica of that book, but it would be on Swami. In fact, I gave the code name Swami Phaidon to this proposed book project, and I stuck memos all over my office to remind me that this was to be my next major project after Ramayana. And then something happened which we thought never would. As you all know, in April 2011, Swami gave up his physical form and ascended to his natural transcendental stage. Prior to that, He spent almost 3 to 4 weeks in the hospital, sort of preparing us for what was to come. And during that period, as you know, there was any amount of malicious gossip and nonsense written and also shown on television. This was done not only by illiterate members of the local TV channels, with of course help from so many so-called devotees who gave expert, uninformed comments on all sorts of things. But this sort of rubbish was also put out by the so-called more responsible national media. The Western media, of course, never trusted Swami, thanks especially to their fixation on miracles, which in a sense was due to our own obsession with miraculous experiences. The net result was a massive campaign of disinformation and misinformation by the ignorant as well as the intelligent. That was when I decided to change the scope of the book I had codenamed Swami Phaidon. In other words, instead of making the book a beautiful picture album, I decided to make it a proper and full-fledged biography of the life of Swami. This biography was aimed specifically at the educated and Western elite, which means the elite in Western countries and the elite in this country, which tends to be very Westernized. And I backed up the biography with full documentation, especially via compelling photographs. My idea was to create a book that told Swami's story in a systematic manner, suited to an objective audience, complete with detailed evidence, so that people in high places could judge objectively and impartially what Swami had achieved and how he managed to do it. I personally felt this was necessary because at the time of Mahasamadhi, as I told you, many intellectuals and the elite media got a golden opportunity to trash Swami without the least basis for their allegations. This went on day after day, and I was just tired of it. For these people, the intelligentsia, it is an axiom of faith that spirituality is a hoax and the latest business fraud. And they put all these gurus, good and bad, in one basket and call them a fraud. This is very strange. For thousands of years, this country has had genuine saints and sages. They were not frauds. You know, the mind is a very funny thing. It can trap even so-called analytical and logical thinkers into believing things that are not true. How come? How come this happens? Because of a thing called inbuilt bias. When you live in an ambience, you are exposed to certain ideas that prevail in that ambience. And whether you like it or not, it sort of sinks into you. Thus, people in Western countries, at least until recently, always used to think of India as the land of beggars and snake charmers. That was the idea. It was sort of built into them. Such bias exists where religion, economics, race, caste, ethnicity, etc. are all concerned. Thus you have religious fanatics, economic extremists, racists, castes, people who are divided very sharply on account of ethnicity and so on. And there are also people who are biased against spirituality, saints and sadhus, and they dismiss them summarily without even giving them the benefit of doubt. That is bias. And it is to fight this uninformed bias among the so-called elite of this country and elsewhere that I decided to write a book on Swami with a difference. By the way, all this was not done in a vacuum. A lot of very careful planning went into not only the production of the book, but also how it would be brought to the notice and the attention of people who matter. However, for today, I shall skip all those details and now proceed to give you a brief glimpse of the book as it has finally emerged. This is the case in which the book appears. I am holding it with a lot of effort because the package weighs about 5 kilograms. There is a reason why it weighs so much. Let me show what's in the book, in this box. This box has the Sarva Dharma symbol at the back and the wheel of Dharma on the spine. This is how the book appears. What I am holding up now is volume 1. The book has 3 volumes and spans 8 chapters. Volume 1 has 4 chapters and takes the story of Swami roughly up to the year 1990. This is volume 2. This is slightly bigger than volume 1. In fact, it's the biggest of the 3 volumes. And it has only 1 chapter. It's chapter 5. And that takes the story of Swami from 1990 to 2010. This is the last of the 3 volumes. It is slimmer. It has 3 chapters, 6, 7 and 8. Chapter 7 deals with roughly the last part of 2010 and the early part of 2011 till Swami was admitted to the hospital. And then there's a chapter called The Curtain Comes Down, which deals with the admission of Swami to the hospital and ends with the Mahasamadhi event. There is, of course, an 8th chapter which deals with the legacy and the message of Swami. So that is the book that was released by the Governor of Andhra Pradesh, His Excellency Mr. Narasimhan, on the morning of April 24th. And I believe many of you saw that function live, taking advantage of the web streaming which we did that morning. I do not know whether by just this brief glimpse you can appreciate how much time and labor has gone into the production of this 3-volume set in terms of planning and design. There are a few comments I should make here, starting with the fact that I was not the only person involved in the production of the book. There was an entire team because the book had so many aspects to it. I won't go into all those details, but I should mention we also had to raise and spend a lot of money in producing this book because we aimed at the highest standards and we wanted a coffee table kind of book that would be among the best books written on Swami. Many of you may not agree with the decision that was taken, but I was keen that if Swami and his message were to be taken to people who really mattered, then class and dignity were necessary to make them sit up and take the book seriously. You can't take a book that is shabbily produced and give it to a person like, say, the President of the United States, who is involved with a lot of social projects and who can be benefited by glancing through these books. There are so many other people like that. And I made a reference to some of them in the brief talk that I gave before the book was released. Now, whoever it is, once that person opens the book and sees the 1,000 and odd compelling photographs of a breathtaking range, I am sure that person would be drawn to the contents and the message that the book carries. Why was I so sure? Well, take for example chapter 8. Here I quote the current Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, David Cameron. What does David Cameron say? He says that many of the problems his country is facing is because Britain has become a broken society. How to fix such a broken society? People ask that question because there are so many societies that are broken or on the verge of breaking up. The only way is that of Swami. Why is Swami's method the only way? Because societies break up when they stop believing in values and throw values in the garbage can. The only way to fix that problem is by giving values their due place in society. There is no one who talks about values in depth the way Swami has talked about it. No one. In Europe, people have largely drifted away from God. But even so, even in Europe, people do talk about restoring values. In America, of course, a very large percentage of people still believe in God, some form of God. However, there is considerable confusion about how to link values and God. That is their problem. And Swami's teachings indicates how to solve that problem. For those of you who are interested in the connection between values, society, and breakdown of society, I refer you to the talk that I gave on April 25th at the conclusion of the Sai Aradhana Mahotsavam. That talk ought to be available soon, both as text. I think it's already available at the Radio Sai website as text, and I believe it would be available as a video also shortly. I do hope that at least some of you would take the trouble to read that talk. Coming back to the question of making the book available to the public at large, please be assured that we do have a plan to do so. It will take a little time. But when we do it, it would be a low-cost version, since a book like what I showed you would be too expensive for most people. They just won't buy it. You may say, how do I know? Well, I know. We are still stuck with a lot of the Ramayana book, which is far less expensive. And people say it is too expensive. Actually, if you go to the market and look at a book, comparable book, you will find its price is almost double that of Ramayana. And it is about some art or building, architecture, stuff like that. Whereas this book is about Ramayana, which is an eternal story, exemplifying eternal values. But people's attitudes and styles have changed. So coming back to this low-cost version that we are planning, please believe me when I say it is a priority for us. It will take a little time, a few months maybe. But I am trying to assure you through this statement I am making just now that we have not forgotten you. But today, I think the best way of bringing this talk to a close would be for me to invite you to see a DVD that is packaged along with this book. This is the DVD that comes along with the book. This DVD seeks to introduce Swami to someone who knows very little or nothing about Swami, but is likely to be interested in what he stood for and what he did. As I sign off, this DVD will be played out for you. Keep in mind that this DVD is meant for someone who has never heard of Swami, or even if he has or she has, knows very little about Swami. That is the background you must keep in mind when you watch the playout of this DVD, which carries the same title as the book, The Miracle of Pure Love. That's all for today. Thank you, and please await the screening of this DVD, which will follow as I fade out. Jai Sai Ram. Greetings. I am standing here in this scenic ground that is part of a small town called Puttaparthi in South India. There are any number of small towns in India with the same population and the same size as Puttaparthi. But Puttaparthi is different and unique. Why? Because it is a very modern town. It has internet banking facilities, of course, internet cafes, restaurants, FedEx office, and so on. It even has a small airport, believe it or not. All this is now. 4 decades ago, it was very different. Puttaparthi was a remote hamlet with very few streets, very few houses, a very small population, and not even a road leading to it. Now there is a reason why I am telling you all this. And that reason is the following. Just take a look at the hill over there. On top of that hill, you see a building. That building is the university established by Satya Sai Baba. And I am now going to narrate his amazing story for this DVD that comes with the book you have received. I came to this university about 20 years ago after retirement. I wanted to serve as a teacher in an honorary capacity in Baba's University. Now I am a scientist by training, and science was my entire career up to the point of my retirement. Most scientists try to stay involved with science even after retirement. I chose not to and came instead to Puttaparthi. What attracted me to Satya Sai Baba was his passion for service. When I came here, I knew very little about Baba except that he could shower love like no one else can. actually, what really drew me like a powerful magnet was something that happened on the morning of November 23, 1990, Baba's 65th birthday. A huge crowd had assembled to celebrate it. Back then, Satya Sai Baba invariably delivered a discourse at the end of all formal functions. And in the course of his birthday discourse, Baba made a remarkable and totally unexpected announcement.
కనుక పలని ఉండే ఇలాంటి పవిత్రమైన యొక్క శక్తిని అభివృద్ధి పరచాలని చెప్పి సంకల్పించుకొని 100 కోట్ల వ్యయం చేత మన ప్రశాంతి నందు ఒక విధమైన వైద్యాలయాన్ని స్థాపించడానికి ప్రయత్నించారు. హైయర్ లర్నింగ్ ఎటువంటిదో హైయర్ వైద్యం కూడా అటువంటిదిగా మనం చేయాలి. ఈ గుండె జబ్బు వస్తే కొన్ని లక్షలు వ్యయం చేసి అమెరికాకు వెళుతున్నారు. వారిని చూసేటువంటి వారెవరు? పట్టణానికి వెళితే కలర్ నీళ్ళైనా వాళ్ళ మొహాలు కొట్టరు. అలాంటి దురవస్థను గుర్తించి మనము ఇక్కడ ఒక పెద్ద వైద్యాలయాన్ని నిర్మించాము. బైపాస్ సర్జరీ కానీ, లేక కిడ్నీ మార్చడం కానీ, లంగ్స్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయడం కానీ, బ్రెయిన్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయడం కానీ అన్ని ఉచితంగానే.
What Baba said was that if rich people had difficult medical problems, like a hole in the heart for example, they could spend money and go to America. Baba then added, what about the poor people? Where can they go? Actually, there is no place they can go to, and that is why I am going to build a super specialty hospital right here in this village. And this hospital would offer treatment completely free. That was not all. Baba said something more. Baba announced that the Puttaparthi Super Speciality Hospital would start functioning exactly 1 year from that date. What an extraordinary promise to make.
We worked out we only had 3 months to design the whole hospital. That meant every kind of specialization, total planning, numbers of everything, numbers of patients, sizes of wards, size of equipment. 3 months. That took us 17 architects working 17 hours a day for 3 months, and we produced a booklet with drawings this size, and that left them 7 months. The construction team in India, construction company ECC, it left them 7 months to build it. So the building of that hospital was totally miraculous in terms of what it normally takes to do such a thing. A highly technical, very large, very complex building. Sai Baba said, come and see the site. We drove with him in his car. We looked at the site, and here was this flat piece of land with a few trees on it. And he said, in a year's time, we'll have the first operation on this thing. And I said, inside my head, I said, no way, that's possible.
I was not present in Puttaparthi on the day he made that historic announcement. But I was present right here in Puttaparthi, in fact, right in front of this hospital on the day it was inaugurated. Barely a week before inauguration day, hardly anything was in readiness. Many, in fact, wondered if the hospital would start functioning on the target date at all. Let me now cut to the morning of November 22nd, 1991. What I saw that morning was absolutely breathtaking and amazing. It was out of this world. There was actually a building here, believe it or not, and it was waiting to be inaugurated. Baba was everywhere, giving instructions here and there, and waiting for the chief guest, who was none other than the then Prime Minister of India. Suddenly, a helicopter appeared overhead, and soon Prime Minister Mr. Narasimha Rao was here. The Prime Minister went up to the door, offered his salutations to Baba, and then cut the ribbon on the door. The door was open, and Baba, accompanied by the Prime Minister, walked in. Inside the dome were seated special invitees, many of whom had played a leading role in getting this hospital going in 1 year flat. A lamp was lit, and that was all. No speeches, none at all. Instead, Baba went upstairs accompanied by the Prime Minister and headed for the operation theatre. A patient had already been prepared and anesthetized. Baba blessed from outside, and the surgeon's knife touched the skin to start the first ever heart operation in a super specialty hospital in a village. A hospital that had come up in exactly 1 year. On that inaugural day, 4 surgeries were performed, not just one, 4 surgeries were performed. A few days later, Baba went to the hospital to see the patients, and they were all doing fine. 1 year earlier, none of them could have dreamt about a heart operation. And yet, Baba actually made it possible for them to be operated free. And that really is the important point. Now, how did Baba manage to establish and run a tertiary care hospital that treated everyone free? You may not believe it, but in one simple word, it was pure love. Just that, pure love. This hospital in Puttaparthi is not the only super specialty hospital that Baba has established. In 2001, Sathya Sai Baba set up another such hospital in the metro city of Bangalore. Take a good look at how these hospitals appear from outside. Do they look like hospitals? Hardly. Let's now go inside. See this place? It's absolutely grand. Just take a look at those stained glass windows up there. This place, does it not remind you of a cathedral? There is no surprise in that because everything that Baba did was based on spirituality. Now, let's go and take a look inside at the hospital. Please follow me. Although it started off with just the cardiothoracic department, the hospital here in Puttaparthi now has many other specialties like urology, ophthalmology, orthopedics, gastroenteritis, and reconstructive surgery. As in all hospitals, patients who come here first go through registration. They are then examined by doctors. Next come the diagnostic tests as required. There are many theatres and major procedures like cardiac catheterization, open heart surgeries, etc. are routinely performed. Unlike the Puttaparthi Hospital, the Bangalore Hospital has only two specialties, namely cardiothoracic and neuro. Even so, it is equally crowded. Take a look now at the ICUs, which are as good as they come. What you are now seeing are the general wards. Look how spacious they are. I can tell you, in commercial hospitals, you would hardly find such spacious wards. Not in India anyway. As for the patients, notice that they are all mostly poor. Now, how does it feel to work in such a hospital? Well, here are some comments from the doctors themselves.
We are serving the poorest of the poor and the very high quality medicine. That's what, very satisfactory. Okay. In America, we used to treat only most of our patients for coronary artery disease. Here, the poor, because we are treating the poorest of the poor, we get what we call rheumatic heart disease and congenital heart disease, which has been neglected, in India. We've been seeing quite a few here. So our 30% is congenital, 30% rheumatic and 30% coronaries.
Maybe I can say with a lot of pride that the hospital is doing what most of the major centers in India and even abroad are doing. We are doing all kinds of cardiac surgery, catering to pediatric, all age groups. You have all the state-of-the-art equipment here. If you, as you say, if you come into a theaters or as you right now we are in the cath lab, you find that one of the best in any of the international institute.
What is the thing that gives you most satisfaction working in this hospital? Because you have been here and it looks like you're going to be here as long as you can. So there must be some magic that holds you here. What's the attraction? What's the magic?
One thing is here we are able to do all kinds of surgeries. Monetary aspect is not a problem. That gives you a tremendous satisfaction that monetary patient who cannot afford, there are no monetary constraints. We pour in the costliest of medicines in a patient. We see to it. So the ability to serve the patient to the fullest extent, give him the best. I think that is seen here. Unlike if I was working outside where if if ventilators are not available, then they switch off the patient from the ventilator. They say no, he cannot. He goes to another different modality of treatment altogether. So those kind of things you don't have to worry about at all. We're able to give our best to the patient in all respects. The atmosphere is totally different. Our patients always, if you see, they're smiling. Even when you walk in, before surgery they're smiling, after surgery they're smiling. And the supporting team of different departments, everything is very congenial. So,
Before I move from the subject of Baba's hospitals, there are two things I must draw your attention to. First is about the volunteer brigade, the members of which are referred to as Sevadals. These Sevadals are there all over the hospital and they do all kinds of work. They cut vegetables in the dietary, they serve food to patients, they assist patients in many ways, they stitch uniforms, they do security duty, and they also sweep and mop the floor. The Sevadals are part of an organization called the Sri Satya Sai Service Organization, with branches not only all over India, but indeed over the globe. Baba established this organization many years ago, not merely to act as an NGO, but more so to give individuals an opportunity to better themselves spiritually. Maybe it's time I say something about Baba himself, his philosophy, and his passion for service. Let me take you back all the way to 1926, the year in which Baba was born. At that time, Puttaparthi consisted of just 2 lanes meeting roughly at right angles. There were hills around with brush jungle and also a river nearby. Baba was born in this remote hamlet in this hut that you see in this picture. At the time of his birth, he was named Satyanarayana Raju, Raju being the family name. It was only later that he came to be known as Satya Sai Baba. For a few years, Satya, as he was known then, attended school in a neighboring village. Some years later, he then transferred to a place called Uravakonda. In Uravakonda, Satya studied in this school. Satya's elder brother was a teacher in the school, and Satya was brought here because this school was supposed to be good. In October 1940, young Satya suddenly dropped out of school and left home, saying that humanity was his family and that he would spend his life serving it. The Raju family was devastated, but Satya was firm. After quitting school, Satya returned to Puttaparthi. People saw in young Satya a spiritual master. And India being India, people sought spiritual masters irrespective of their age. And that also is how slowly but surely people started coming to Baba in increasing numbers. In the 40s, Satya Sai Baba, as he now came to be known, stayed in this tin shed which served as his ashram. In 1950, Baba moved to a new ashram which later became his mission headquarters, so to speak. Baba gave the name Prashanti Nilayam to this new ashram, and it meant abode of peace. Soon, people came to Prashanti Nilayam wanting to experience Baba's love and feel at peace, at least for the time they were with him. I shall skip the story of how from 1950 onwards, Baba went on to do various mega projects, because all that can be found in the book of his DVDs apart. Instead, I now wish to dwell entirely on Baba's love, for that really is the secret behind his stunning accomplishments. Baba's love was selfless. That is to say, while he showered love endlessly, he never asked for anything for himself from anybody at any time. He had no need to, since he had none of the usual desires. All he wanted was for everyone to be happy. It was that selflessness and his keenness to see everyone happy that drew people to Baba like a powerful magnet. When a pin remains in contact with the magnet for a long time, the pin itself becomes a small magnet with attractive power. It was the same with Baba. Using his love, Baba drew people to him, transformed them, and allowed them to play their own role in promoting love. That was the way he multiplied love. Baba's hospital has, for example, many doctors who serve there in an honorary capacity. Perhaps the most remarkable among them was late Dr. Bhatt, a truly legendary figure. Dr. Bhatt has been hailed as the father of urology in India, and with good reason too. The moment Baba established the Puttaparthi Hospital, Dr. Bhatt came there to serve in it because he said, I was always looking for a hospital where I could serve the patients without the patients having to worry about paying a bill. And Baba gave me this hospital, so I came running here. Some years ago, Dr. Bhatt had a heart attack. But soon he recovered and was back in action. Over the years, Dr. Bhatt trained any number of students who now serve in big hospitals all over India and some of them even overseas. Doctors come from overseas also to serve in Baba's hospital because of the ambience Baba's hospitals provide. If Baba's love draws people to come to him and serve in his institutions, it also motivates people to go out and spread his love in all parts of the world. Here is an example of doctors from the UK doing an extended medical camp in Malawi in Africa.
Okay, my name is Dr. Kerias Nchamboza. I'm the in charge of this hospital. So far, everything has been going well, and I must admit this is the first time we have such a big group being attended to.
Welcome here to the Montfort Mission Hospital here. We're here with Care and Share and the Satya Sai organization on a medical camp. This camp here, we brought doctors from the UK. We have 3 pharmacists and 4 GPs, a general surgeon and an anaesthetist.
What I'm doing is trying to diagnose urinary tract infection, anemia, malaria, and any other parasitic infections like bilharzia, which is schistosomiasis, and getting the results immediately, whereby the doctors can decide which appropriate treatment to give to the patients.
We've seen approximately 600 patients between the hospitals. We've been providing dental and eye care at Chikwawa District and all the general services at the Montfort Mission Hospital. The patients have been seen, treated by the doctors, provided with medication. At the end of it, they've been given a meal and been escorted back from where they've come.
Mrs. Mvula. I'm very happy to receive these doctors from UK. They are really helping us.
I'm Beena, pharmacist from London. As you can see, we are extremely busy. We've done about 500 prescriptions yesterday, and we're still doing yesterday's prescriptions. We have not even started today's prescriptions.
First day, it rained so heavily, we had a problem to give the food. Where we are going to feed these people? A gentleman who is a local in charge of the Muslim community, he came forward and he said, you can use the mosque. We will cook for you and people can sit comfortably in the mosque and eat. He said he has been attending the camps, but the amount of love and respect which he has received is nowhere, and he would like to volunteer his services.
Because it's an experience which you cannot have if you do not join one of these camps, and at the end of the day, having worked so many hours, you find that and you see the smiles on these people's faces, and that is what is most satisfying.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks.
And here is a school in South Africa committed to promoting the 5 basic human values that were always so dear to Baba.
Well, the EHV program has 5 human values: truth, love, peace, right conduct, and non-violence. So one of the values that really touches me is truth, because you have to be honest about everything in your life.
Oh Lord, take my life, let it flow in full devotion to Thee.
Unknown to us, there is within all of us much goodness that is waiting to be tapped. Baba was always aware of it and was absolutely sure that by tapping it, he could do wonders. And wonders he did. That is why he felt no need for formal education, dropped out of school, and spent his entire life practicing his own message, which was to love all and to serve all. I began with the hospital, and so allow me please to end with a few more words on the hospital. People come every day to Baba's hospitals feeling hopelessness and despair. But once they are here, patients are so well taken care of that their worries evaporate, especially as they do not have the burden of making any payment. The best way of conveying all this is to briefly recall the story of a patient named Jahangir Mullah. Now this Jahangir belongs to Kolkata, formerly known as Calcutta. At the time our story begins, Jahangir used to work as a mason. One day, while plastering the outer wall of a school, the bamboo scaffolding on which Jahangir was standing suddenly gave way and Jahangir came crashing down to the road, which was about 15 feet below. Jahangir's spine was fractured and he instantly became paralyzed below the waist. However, the fracture itself was causing excruciating pain in the back. Jahangir was taken in an ambulance to a hospital, but seeing his condition, he was not offered any treatment since the hospital knew that Jahangir would not be able to pay for it. It was the same story everywhere, from hospital to hospital. Almost a month passed and the entire family was desperate. That was when someone told them of a hospital in Puttaparthi built by Sai Baba. Jahangir knew nothing about Sai Baba or about the hospital, but he wanted to go there immediately. Taking the help of his brother Zakir Hussain Mullah, Jahangir travelled all the way to Puttaparthi by train on a stretcher. How he did it, I do not know, but somehow he managed to come to Baba's hospital. In the hospital, Jahangir was examined, admitted, and quickly operated upon. The surgery was long and complicated, and it required 2 major incisions to get access to the injured portion of the spine. After the discharge, Jahangir stayed back since he needed physiotherapy. Believe it or not, Jahangir underwent physiotherapy for 5 months continuously, day after day. However, when the physiotherapy was over, Jahangir could stand up and also walk. For all this treatment, surgery, hospital stay, and the physiotherapy for 5 months, Jahangir did not have to pay a single penny. For the record, let me mention that Jahangir is a Muslim, but Baba's hospital does not care what religion you belong to, or even if you are an atheist. If you are a patient and you are in need, you are admitted and treated. That's the way Baba's hospital works. Meanwhile, the story of Jahangir's miraculous recovery without paying a single pai had almost become a legend back home. So much so that when Jahangir returned, there was a huge crowd waiting to greet him in his slum as he got out of the taxi that brought him home from Calcutta railway station. Today, Jahangir is back at work again, not as a mason, but as a retail fish vendor. This story is not unique. It happens every single day in some form or the other. And that is what Baba's hospital is all about. You don't have to take my word for it. Here is what a doctor in the hospital says. Please listen to it.
Very early, within a month of my joining, one man from somewhere, this Warangal area, about nearly 1500 kilometers or 2000 kilometers from here, he comes. His 13-year-old daughter, the father and daughter come, she has a hole in the heart. She is seen worked up by us, admitted for surgery. This man, he, like Gandhiji, he was wearing that half up to the knee kind of one cloth, that's all, and covered his top with a very poor man. Girl was operated the next day, and she had luckily by Swami's grace an uneventful recovery, and she was ready to be discharged. When we handed over the discharge summary when he was leaving, this man was weeping. I said, now what is the problem? See, your daughter had a problem, you came, we did everything, and you requested for early, even that we got it done, and you're going, but now what you're crying? He says, last 13 days, he has been subsisting on one banana for lunch and one banana for dinner. He was saving money so that once the daughter gets discharged, that day he wanted to have at least one full meal with the daughter after going outside. Now tell me, if you have even tiniest speck of sensitivity in your heart, you possibly can't go and eat food that day when you witness this scene. This is, I have just quoted one incident to see this is the category of people who have been, I would say, blessed by Bhagwan.
I started by telling you that I was a scientist. Now, one of the scientists whom I admired very much was late Victor Weisskopf. Weisskopf was born in Austria, Europe, escaped from Hitler, went to America, worked on the atom bomb project during the war, and later became a distinguished professor of physics at MIT. Weisskopf was not only a brilliant physicist, but also a great humanist. He once said, knowledge and compassion are the two great pillars of human society. Compassion without knowledge is ineffective. On the other hand, knowledge without compassion is inhuman. What Baba did was to blend knowledge and compassion and stir all those who were around him with love. And once he got going, there was nothing to stop him from doing wonders. Frankly, it is difficult to describe Baba's love and the achievements it led to. Perhaps architect Krislau described it best. He simply said, "It's incredible, but it's true.